Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's video 44 coming at you with another video. Got a nice little rainstorm going on outside. I am enjoying my day thus far, man. But I had something on my mind. I've been watching some things online. Um, Charleston White, gentleman that I've mentioned on his channel a couple times, he's making it a strong point to try to help black people by expressing his belief that all gang members should be condemned and that there's little to no good you can find in these places. And while the experiences I have in my life give me different points of view. I ultimately understand where he's coming from because he's trying to help, sway some people away from a lifestyle that otherwise be their destruction and the destruction of their friends and family or what have you. He's trying to sway some people away. He's trying to deter some people from a lifestyle that has been glorified by many people. And while I'm from Los Angeles and I understand it's a different beast out here, there are a lot of individuals outside of places where it's structured this way, where people are just being copycats or trying to adapt to something that their environment doesn't necessarily lend itself to be successful. I look at certain states like New York. You can't gang bang out there. You can't do that kind of stuff, even though they continue to, because they have these RICO laws and various strict gun laws and stuff like that that'll lock you away for stuff that won't get you but 2 months and some community service in other areas. So it's just the environment is not conducive for certain types of behavior. And I think that a lot of times when we try to mimic one another, cities to cities, like everybody wants to mimic Chicago right now and be the bloodiest of the bloody and the deadliest of the deadly. And it's like, the environment that you're in may not be meant for that. Certain places, when I harken back to New York, certain places like New York, it's like, they have structured what it is that they're doing in terms of the crime fighting organizations out there. They've structured it so that they could react to some of the things that they've experienced as a big city. The 20s, the 30s, the 40s, all the stuff that New York has been through, even in the 1800s when they were having they battles and stuff like that. Because of the environment that they're in, they police themselves a certain way. Philadelphia, I heard about Philadelphia and how strict they are with their gun laws and stuff. Somebody was mentioning how things are different in the Commonwealth. I don't know anything about that. But the point is, if I take a couple of my friends to try to do what they doing out in Philadelphia here, the environment's not built for that. We don't have the type of space that they work from. We don't have the type of history that they have. We don't have the type of culture that they have to where we can effectively mimic what they do and have the results that they have. But I see people doing that all over the country in regards to what happens out here in California. And I'm listening to a guy like Charleston White who, he's got a lot of opinions to say about certain things, and his opinions hold a lot of truth, but he lacks a lot of context. And what ends up frustrating me and listening to him is, without context, he tends to be convinced that certain things are as he sees them, and while in some cases they are exactly how he sees them, in other cases he doesn't leave much room to be wrong. But then in other parts of his conversation, when people bring specific things to him, like, oh, these people over there, he'd be like, nah, I ain't never heard of them, I don't know nothing about them. It's like, but if you did, you will understand, you would have more context to understand why you sound off to certain people who are listening to you, who may share your sentiment, who may actually share with what you're saying. But because you're not seeking context, you're blatantly expressing that you don't know certain things, but without knowing certain things, they would help you see things a certain way. And see, that's the thing. It's like, I get frustrated because I understand the importance of context. I'm one of those brains that see nothing but variables. Everything has about 9, 10 different things or more that can come from it or what have you. So it's like, it ain't nothing black and white. And a lot of times when people have good intentions, but they come from places where they see the world black and white, they tend to want to teach others how they see things as they do. Unfortunately, they're missing a million angles. So you're not actually helping the people that you're trying to teach. Your intentions are great, but you're lacking context. You're lacking a point of view that'll help you understand the fullness of what it is you're actually looking at. And that's what I would want to bring to a guy like Charleston White. That's what the conversation would be if he sat down with me. I ain't never gangbanged in my life, and I ain't pretending to have context. But what I don't do is try to get on camera and try to lead others, assuming that I have surmised all there is to see about what it is that we're talking about. Assuming that because I have an understanding of what it is I believe I see, I've come to the conclusions I've come to, that I need to take those conclusions and apply it to the wide world as if it everything that's in my head applies to each and every situation, or maybe a few situations or what have you. I just think that's the wrong way to go. It's like, bro, you may not even see the big picture here. You may not even see the fullness of what it is you're talking about. You may haven't met the person or the people that would help you see things differently. And when you finally come around to seeing things the way you need to, like so that you can have a fullness of your understanding, then it would mold your opinion. It would change your opinion. It would change the approach. It would change your tone. It would change the way you address people and discuss things. And I just think that this individual, he's found a niche for himself being loud. It allows people to come see him, just like all entertainers. He's no different. They have two different sides to themselves. One side where the camera's on and one side where the camera's off. And he's still learning how best to go about being an entertainer. And I understand that. I listened to a couple other interviews he had where he was talking about, he's still new to this. All he really wanted to do was find a monetized channel. And I'm like, that's all well and good. You're a charismatic guy with good intentions. You ain't afraid to say what's on your mind. You'll step up and stand up to bullies. You'll say something that's uncomfortable. You'll let bad guys know they bad guys. Ain't nothing wrong with none of that. But when you only see a fourth of the picture, and then you try to tell everybody else that you see the whole picture and that they need to see it the way you do, and then when they tell you, nah, you're missing that piece and that piece and that piece, you say, nah, I don't hear none of that you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not how a leader leads. A leader listens, takes in the information, lets his ego go to the side, say, yep, that's new information, let me run with that. Or, nope, that don't add up, I'm not rolling with it. But if you don't allow that information to come into your head, you don't get it. It was something else that he was saying in regards to an interview I was watching, because I watched several interviews trying to get some understanding. And what he was also saying is that he came to Los Angeles for 2 years, lived off of Imperial in Vermont. I know exactly where that is. Imperial is not too far from where I'm at right now. And he hung out here for 2 years. And what he saw, he surmised, and he took it back home. And he's teaching others with what he saw. And I don't know what the man did or not see. And I don't know what he did or not do. But what I know about LA is you standing across the street looking at people from where you're at in your mindset is not going to give you an understanding of what it feels like to be on the inside of those circumstances. And without context, you don't know what questions to ask. I always harken back to crypto, because crypto is the best analogy for context in the world. If you jump in with $100 and think you're going to make some money off of crypto by trading stuff back and forth, you're going to get doused by trading fees. But you won't even know what the hell a trading fee is until you get in there and find out what it actually is you're dealing with. You won't know what questions to ask. Then you find out about trading fees, and you find out about Ethereum, then you find out about all kinds of different stuff. But if you're talking to somebody and you only know of crypto, literally crypto, and you just say, I know of crypto and my understanding is of crypto, and I'm going to teach everybody about crypto, and you don't even know anything about everything that I just referred to, but you see what you see. Like, I know it's at $46,000 and it could go up, it could go down, so everybody needs to follow me and crypto is the future. It's like, you don't even know all there is to teach all of us about crypto. You have the slightest notion about crypto. You're loud, you're confident, and you're charismatic, and now everybody's listening to you about crypto when you don't actually know what the hell you're talking about. So that's what I've gathered. It's like, this is a guy who, from where he's standing, his confidence allows him to believe he should be a leader. The fact that a lot of what he says makes sense because he is a smart person and he surmises certain things, and he does disarm a lot of people as it pertains to the negativity that they promote and the contradictions of that negativity that they promote, right? And the way that they kind of go about it because of the politics. We tend to see no evil, hear no evil in certain situations, especially out here. We send our praises to some of the people who have done really bad things because of the overall good that we've seen them do. And that's context. That's context within the understanding. You talk about gangs. What you don't see is why the gangs were formed. What you don't see is the environment the gangs are in. What you don't feel is the pain that they've gone through. What you don't see is the many times different truces have tried to take place. What you don't see is the different elements outside of those gangs that try to influence those gangs for their own monetary gain and for their own political gain. These are things that you have no understanding of just because you came here for 2 years, stood across the street and looked at some dudes, or may have had some conversations, or may have stepped in some rooms and slept over somebody's house on a couch or something, had a few drinks. That don't tell you about the politics. That don't tell you about the history. That don't tell you about the pain. That don't tell you about the understanding that you need to have to teach others about what it is that's going on at all. And just because you've read a few books, had a few conversations with a few people, does not mean that you understand or surmise the entire situation of what you're talking about. I never get offended by Charleston White as it pertains to him going off the rails, dissing the dead, saying all kinds of crazy stuff, because I know that's part of the entertainment factor. And as he continues to find himself in the entertainment factor, he'll be able to find a balance in that'll work for him. And the more attention he brings to himself, the more his movement, or rather his subjects and things he's trying to shed light on, the more those things will be paid attention to. Because he is doing it in the way that he does it, because he's loud and disrespectful and all of this different stuff, we talk about him, and we take from what it is that he's telling us the meat and potatoes, which is stop killing each other, stop killing black people, stop aligning yourself with people who want to kill black people who aren't black people. That's his message. Those messages can be perceived and received, but they won't be talked about as much if he doesn't do it that way. So I never, ever, ever look at it from that angle. He's an entertainer. He's going to do the WWF thing. He's going to talk the craziest, most wild, disrespectful, evil, spewing hatred at people he surmises are evil people. He ain't going to do that to somebody like myself, because I'm not a gangbanger. I've never sold a drug. I ain't never shot a gun at nobody. I ain't never looked to take nothing from nobody. So I'm the type of person he would accept. But as somebody who he would accept, I would say, listen, you don't see the whole picture, bro. Yes, there are a lot of people in these environments who are not positive, but there are roses that are growing from within these concretes. Some of the most genius individuals who have ever lived have come out of some of the most rough spots in Los Angeles. I'm telling you, I know this. I'm talking about Kendrick Lamar. I'm talking about various people, Aaron Afalo, all these different great athletes and entertainers and different people that have grows from within these places. DeMar DeRozan, people who have been guided by these individuals that you say are the worst of the worst. They've been guided away from those circumstances. Don't let my testimony tell you. Listen to those people testimony as they tell about their lives. And you don't take my word from it. But the point is, I don't think we should take anyone's word for what it is that is perceived as the culture in Los Angeles, the culture in these various places. And all of that is just too much to surmise. And for someone to just have so much confidence that they can just tell everybody how it is when they don't even have the answers to some of the questions posed to them that would help them fully understand what it is they're even looking at. But he don't know that he doesn't know. He just feels the confidence. He sees what he sees, and those are the angles that his mind allows him to see. But guess what, brother? Your vision, you only see this. There's so many different angles that you don't see. And as I continue to listen to you talk, I hear the holes in those angles. I see the lack of context that you seek. And the most important thing that a leader needs to be able to do is surmise when he don't know something, when he doesn't understand what he's looking at, when there's pieces missing, when there's other angles, when there's stuff that people can't see. You need to be able to at least understand that those things are in existence, and that should humble all of us to a certain degree as it pertains to being so damn confident about knowing what we're looking at, even as it pertains to certain things that look plain as day, because things are not always as they seem. You don't know why certain things are the way they are, and if you did know why, you would understand how complicated it is, which is why certain people do certain things. Now, I heard him speak greatly about how different he thinks LA is as it pertains to the gang life and all that. I heard him. He shows it a certain level of understanding as it pertains to people don't leave the gang life out here. It's not something everyone can walk away from. All of that is understood. But what he doesn't realize is there is so much more to understand about even that perspective. These are their families. There's a lot of different variables in regards to why certain people don't leave certain situations. How much good they think they can do in those situations, how comfortable they are in those situations, how comfortable they are moving away from their home. All these different things play into a factor of why people stay where they are. It ain't just because they trapped. It ain't just because they're promoting violence. Maybe this is all they've ever known. And if this is all they've ever known, what's keeping them from being as confident about everything that they have seen, just like you're as confident about everything you have seen? The world you're from is not the world you're in. It's a bigger world with so many different ways of looking at things, so many different perspectives, so many different manipulation tactics being used against various people in various circumstances that they can't even see. Eureka moments that'll wake somebody up over the night and they'll be like, wow, everything I've been looking at is wrong. Those things happen all the time, but if you run your mouth as if you've gained complete enlightenment, when you show out of your mouth with the way that you answer questions that you lack information that would help you reach that full enlightenment, then what is it that you're actually teaching the people? It's the blind leading the blind, and the blind is not aware of his lack of ability to see because he's too busy moving forward in whatever direction he feels is right. And with many people agreeing with him and not challenging those things in a way that he can intellectually take in, he runs with his stuff and he finds himself in situations where he ends up alienating people who would otherwise be able to feed off of the information that he gives them. There's a balance to be found. There's context to be found. There's context to be sought. And if you're not willing to seek that context, you are in no position to lead others. It's the most important thing. And that's why I get so frustrated in listening to Charleston White, because he had no interest in the conversations that I listened to in seeking context, nor see the fruit in seeking context. It's more so about his confidence, his mission, his ego, and his perspective. And that perspective is the only perspective. And that is how people get in trouble. That is how you end up falling off a cliff like a lemming, following somebody who is dead set on going wherever they want to go, and they don't even have any idea where they're going because they actually don't even know where they are. But they think they do. They sure they are. They sure they know. They loud as hell, so those who don't know how to think for themselves gonna follow them too. And even right is on their side, because in this case, they're going up against what they perceive as bad guys who have done bad things. But what they don't see is everything else. Why they're in the thing they're in, behaving the way they are. Who's in control of the environment they're in? Are they actually in control of this environment? Is it as it seems, or is there more to learn? Are they on offense, or are they really on defense? Has that gotten lost in translation somewhere? Would you know to even ask that question? It's too much to know. It's too much you don't know to be leading people this way. That's my point of view. So that's what I have to say, man. I hope he sees this video. I don't mean him no harm. Like I said, I love the bravado, the dissing everybody. I think that stuff brings a light to his message. But the question is, once I got my eyes on you, what are you teaching me? What are you teaching me? And what I've gotten from him is a lot of divisiveness. He's telling us that we shouldn't be communicating and convening with people who are not black, which is bullshit. That doesn't work. Not in the environment I'm from. It doesn't work. See, that's what he needs to understand. That works when everybody is separate. That works when nobody is in communication. That works when it is only black and white. That shit don't work in a big city when everybody lives with everybody else. You get on a bus, you see 8 or 9 different races. How the hell we gonna be all at odds with one another if we gotta work with one another? It don't work, Charleston. So that whole notion that, you can't be a black person siding with them against your own, it ain't how that is in every part of Los Angeles. Pockets of Los Angeles are like that, but since it's so spread out, that over there is a different world than what's over here. And that's the context you're lacking. LA ain't LA. Just like I said about my own situation. I'm an hour away from my home, Hollywood. I ain't been over there in over 5 years. That's how spread out LA is. So it's like it's a context thing, bro. You need to know the environment. You need to know the people. You need to know the history. You need to know what the people are up against. You need to know what they don't know they're up against. These are all the angles you need to be able to do, to be able to have in order to lead people properly. It ain't just bravado, brother. It ain't just confidence. It ain't just, I'm right. You got to be willing to change your mind when new information comes your way. You got to be willing to accept the fact that there are things that look a certain way, but it ain't that way. It ain't that way. And life will teach you that it ain't that way. Life will teach you that things ain't as simple as black and white. And for those who are trying to be loud and teach us, they had better see more than 2 angles, or they're going to lead everybody off a cliff. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.